Valley to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan Hajavandi with Corey Clark. We work for WarChant.com. They are the ultimate Seminole sports source. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to that fantastic website if you're not already a member. Lots of cool stuff going to be going down over the next 2 days or so as we approach the ACC opener. Maybe most importantly, the War Chant Report featuring Ira, Gene, and ESPN Tallahassee's Jeff Cameron. Gene Williams will then later have a breakdown, game prediction. You folks always look forward to that stuff. So that's all coming over on warchant.com. Check it out. I think even the great Irish O'Fell, Corey, might even be working on some sort of quasi-research project in terms of finding out coaches and how they fare in years 1 and 2 and how that portends to the future. But it might not be happening. I don't want to put too much on the big guy's plate. He's got to go to Charlottesville here in about 24 hours.
That's true, and I don't, and neither do you, which is pretty awesome.
It is. Yeah, I can't wait. Unfortunately, it's a really lousy slate of football games. I kind of wish this game was going on last week so I could have hunkered down and watched. Actually, that Clemson A&M game seemed pretty lousy. The Texas
it was pretty.
LSU,
there wasn't much drama in that one.
Yeah, Texas LSU would have probably been a good one to watch.
But we got to watch. I mean, we got to watch one that went to overtime.
That's true.
Are you kidding me?
You got to be grateful about these things.
Yeah.
Speaking of watching things, folks, if you listen to this show on YouTube, which there's like thousands of you who literally do this, which is crazy. We appreciate it. I think the show for Wednesday, it took a while to get uploaded. For whatever reason, the provider that we use just isn't very reliable in terms of when they upload the show. So if you get a hankering for this thing, at midnight, which is when we drop it, I would tell you to probably go ahead and download the podcast. Whether that's using your Apple device or your Android device and using Google Podcasts or whatever app you like, that is the most consistent method of delivery for your listening pleasure. Speaking of delivering, Corey, what are you having for lunch?
I'm actually having Zaxby's. I did a little Uber Eats because I know, obviously I knew I'd be doing the show, so couldn't go out and do this. So yeah, I got Uber Eats on the way. Be here about looks like about 4 minutes.
Look at that.
So I'm just gonna say, hey, Aslan, hold on. I'm getting my Zaxby's, and you keep talking.
All right, let's see if this works out, Corey. We're slipping this into the middle of the podcast at the beginning of it. We sat down, Corey and I, recorded a nice, robust, hour-long Wake Up War Chant. And then news came down from Bruce Feldman that Florida State had hired Jim Leavitt as an analyst. You're going to have to carry this one, partner. I'm absolutely speechless. This is incredible. It's the program that pushed the legend out, opened the door for a guy to walk out after he won a title. Apparently now is going to do everything in their power to set Willie Taggart up for success. He's going to be here till 2022 at least. It's incredible. It's an amazing turn of events, I feel like. What were your instant thoughts?
I mean, I think you've gone way overboard there. I don't. Number one, I don't think this is just a recipe for success. I think, I don't know that Jim Leavitt's going to be a miracle worker in 2019, and I don't know that if they still end up going 3-9, I don't know that having Jim Leavitt as the quality control coach is going to save Willie's job. But on the same token, I mean, they got to try something, right? Like, you want them to try to get better. And if this is a guy they think can do it, then absolutely make the hire. If anybody should be worried, obviously, it's the guy that's the current defensive coordinator, because it sure feels like if things don't get turned around in the next couple of weeks, maybe there's an opening at defensive coordinator and Jim Leavitt slides in. That seems to be what path this feels like. Because if he makes like a world of difference, then yeah, man, then who are you paying? You want to pay the Leavitt guy. So it's. I mean, I'm not I still think that everything that we talked about in this show before this part and after this part is still on the table. I mean, I don't know that Jim Leavitt being a potential defensive coordinator is enough if things go off the rails to save Willie Taggart. But I hope it is. Like, I hope it gets turned around, and I hope that that's the case. I hope things get turned around and Willie just has a great year. But I'm not like just I'm not.
I don't know if it's going to work
by this move as you are.
I don't know if it's going to work, but this 2021, I meant, he's here. He's got, not only does he have 3 years, this school, it's crazy, the paradox of money in college athletics. Ira said this last year, that this university simply could not afford for Willie Taggart to fail. Monetarily, man, not even, losing boosters or season tickets, just you can't, the buyout. I just thought that there would be a certain breaking point where if you do go 3-9 in year 2 and you miss a bowl for a second year in a row, power broker's going to be like, man, I don't care. I don't know. My annuity that I have, I don't know. Let's just roll it over and just give it to you in a lump sum and let's figure this thing out. This to me feels like this year almost now becomes a throwaway. It doesn't matter what happens the rest of this way. As long as there's a modicum of a turnaround on defense, he'll be the defensive coordinator next season, I would imagine, Leavitt, by them doing this, by him agreeing to kind of join mid-season. I imagine he's still going to collect the lion's share of his buyout from Oregon because there's usually a cost offset in terms of if you take a job after you receive the buyout, they'll lessen the buyout by whatever money you've received from another party. So I imagine they're probably going to pay him like, $35,000, $40,000 literally for this season. But if it's good enough, then yeah, you're going to pay him to be your defensive coordinator. I don't even know if they get rid of Barnett. Maybe they do co-DCs. But it's pretty much Leavitt running the show. Barnett focuses on the back end with the secondary. And, you win 7 or 8 in 2019 or 2020, I'm sorry, and that's enough to uptick and move you to 2021. It's wild,
I just think
man.
You're putting,
this is wild.
I think you're putting way too much stock in this. I really do. I don't think that it's not a throwaway, man. If Willie Taggart goes 3-9 this season, the power brokers aren't going to be like, oh, well, you're going to make Leavitt the defensive coordinator. Perfect. I just don't think. I'm not saying that wouldn't happen. I'm just saying that I don't think that's an automatic. I just don't. If they're not competitive, if they get blown off the field 5 or 6 times this year, having a quality control assistant that used to be a great defensive coordinator, I don't know that that's going to matter to anyone. Anyone that matters, I guess I should say. It could. You have the prospect of having Jim Leavitt and Kendall Briles as your 2 coordinators going into 2020, but I don't know that people are going to be like, yeah, absolutely, Willie Taggart. Now he's going to get it done. Now he's got the 2 guys that he needs. I think there will be a lot of ill will towards Willie Taggart regardless. I think you think this move was to save Willie Taggart for the next 3 or 4 years. Absolutely.
It's Willie going down swinging. Credit to him for pulling out all the stops that he possibly can to stay afloat, for real. Sincerely, Jenna, this is incredible to me. That you're able to get a guy like Jim Leavitt.
But I think this is for Willie Taggart to stay afloat in 2019. Yeah, I think this is a quick fix type thing. This is something we need to do type thing. This isn't a, man, we're going to be really good in 2020. This is, we've got to get a lot better in 2019 or I'm not going to be here in 2020. That's my opinion of it. I don't think it's as cut and dry as you do that's an automatic now that Jim Leavitt is on the staff. I think what will happen, if I had to guess, if things continue to go poorly, Barnett, now you have somebody to step in if you fire Barnett. It makes firing Barnett easier. I assume he can slide in and be the defensive coordinator. I don't know how all these rules work, but I assume Leavitt could take over if you have an opening for the defensive coordinator. I think so. I think that's for this year. I don't think that's. I just can't. Can you think Coburn and Thrasher are going to be? Oh, you went 3-9 and gave up 41 points. I get it, man. Okay, but you got your coordinators in there now. We're all good, right? The money flows in from the boosters. I don't think Jim Leavitt is that big a deal that it's an automatic. Everything's going to be returned in 2020, but I think there's a chance things could get better in 2019, which is what we all want anyway.
Yeah, well, the thing though is he's kind of limited in what he can do. Granted, it's only week 3 that he's. I mean, I imagine he's in Tallahassee now. If not, while people are listening to this, and he can aid in game planning. So the limitations as an analyst are you cannot do jobs that are strictly limited to what coaches can do, which is actually in-game coach at practice, and recruit off campus. He can recruit if guys actually show up, which is probably the least of the job description for him right now. But he's a guy that he can attend practice, he can watch practice, write notes down, tell Harlan, this guy does not look good, put this guy in front of this dude. And then during the game, he can watch it from the booth, and I'm pretty sure – I don't know if he can call the defense up there, but I'm pretty sure he can take notes. And at halftime, he goes down to the locker room with all the assistant coaching and be like, "Hey, listen, make this adjustment. Blah 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 blah. On third down, they're doing this. Yada 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 yada. That kind of stuff." This feels like John Thrasher. I still want to retire on time. I don't want to bury David Coburn in a really untenable position. Let's bring this guy on board. We're going to probably end up paying him the money that he wants, and that's why I think this is a throwaway, man. Even if they go 3-9, it's what else are they going to do? I think this says we do not want to do the payout, rebuild, start over sort of scenario. That's what it feels like to me.
Of course they don't want to do it. But again, as we talked about before or after this part of the segment of the show, there might come a time, it might be a case where they can't afford not to. And I'm telling you, this isn't Jimbo Fisher coming over in 2007 and bringing Rick Trickett and Lawrence Dawsey with him. That's not. This isn't that. I just do not believe that Jim Leavitt, the prospect of Jim Leavitt, is going to be enough to save a job if a team is completely quit for a second year in a row. It's just not. I don't think it is because, okay, it's great. Me and you and I know football for the most part. We know that Jim Leavitt is a good defensive coordinator and can turn this thing around to a certain extent. We hope, but to the people that really care, that really matter, is that going to matter to them? Or are they going to be like, no, I'm not supporting Willie Taggart if he's 8-15 in his first 2 seasons at Florida State? I don't think it's that. I mean, we'll see, right? We'll see how this plays out and who's right and who's wrong. I don't think it's a guarantee that that Jim Leavitt, that this is your staff moving forward to next year. I will say this: if it is, well, you got a pretty good staff, right?
Yeah,
wouldn't you think?
Absolutely.
I mean,
man.
You got Jim Leavitt and you got Kendall Browse. That's a pretty solid 1-2 punch. But it really depends, in my opinion, on how, if Barnett ends up being replaced, and all these are ifs, they're all qualified. How does because let's play it out like this. Let's say they give up 60 points to Clemson and Barnett's fired, and then because they're 2-4, and then Jim Leavitt comes in and takes over that Sunday, and then they go and play whoever they play, and for the rest of the season they still give up 38 or 40 points a game. Man, that's not that prospect is not going to save Willie Taggart's job. We'll just give it could be you know what I mean? Like, I don't think people will be like, well, he's got Jim Leavitt, so now he's going to turn things around. The other people would be like, well, Jim Leavitt didn't turn things around. Nothing got better. So why would we assume that 2020 is going to be any different as long as that same guy is in charge on top? I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying I think that would be the prevailing thought for most people. But if he does turn it around, if they go from giving up 40 points a game to giving up 26 points a game, yeah, man. Yeah, it might. You're rolling into 2020 probably with this staff, which I don't think is a terrible thing necessarily.
Well, I don't either. I mean, I think that's what you sell, though. I think that's what Willie markets. No matter how hard
but
this season is. But
don't you think it matters how Leavitt does?
No, I mean, I think he's
if
limited
nothing
in what
turns
he can
around,
do.
then what's the appeal of keeping everything intact?
Well, so in your scenario, Barnett gets released or let go, relieved of his duties midway through the season, then Leavitt steps in as the defense coordinator and things don't get that much better.
Right. How do you sell that?
His pedigree, what he's done in the past, the situation that he walked into, really tough, difficult thing, but now he knows the roster. One more year of roster slush turnover, bring in some other guys, And then we'll get this thing really rolling. And then you can really see what I'm about. This is who I wanted day one. I wanted to bring him with me the first day I came here. Things didn't work out. Now I got my guys. I got Kendall. Yeah, you're going to have to give Kendall probably a $400,000 raise, so he's now making $1.5 million because Leavitt was making on average 1.7 in Oregon. Maybe Leavitt will be cool with $1.5 million because of the tax compensation in terms of not having a state income tax. And we're here. He's Dabo. He's our Dabo. And with a wing and a prayer, he's a guy that.
Well, hey, it could be worse things to be.
Yeah.
Well,
you're paying.
It's not guaranteed, but I guess the question would be, but we'll see how it plays out. All this is hypothetical right now, but if it plays out the way that I envision it playing out, and maybe the defense does get a little better, and maybe they finish 5-7 or 6-6, and there are some market improvements. You have to ask yourself, okay, will Florida State be better in 2020 and 2021? By keeping this current staff intact, or do they blow it up and start all over?
Well, I think
because I'm telling you, man, I think if 2 years ago when Taggart got hired and he brought Jim Leavitt and Kendall Briles with him, you'd be like, all right, this is as good as it. This is really, really exciting. But he doesn't have that. He doesn't I just don't know that he has that much any goodwill built up or the benefit of the doubt. That, okay, now that you got two really good coordinators on both sides of the ball that we think are good coordinators, that, man, just cruise on. Just cruise on and let's get this program turned around. I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen.
I think this signals the fact it's this whole paradox of college athletics. Like, you don't have enough money to do X, Y, and Z, but you're basically doing this, which is going to say that you're willing to invest the money in paying this guy going forward. And this seems to be where we sort of disagree on. I think the administration just said with this hire that we cannot afford an $18 million buyout for Willie and his staff. So we'll keep throwing solutions until it's absolutely untenable and we've exhausted every possible option. That's why I think even if it doesn't work out all that well, if this thing doesn't get better in 19, it's, well, give him a fresh deck in 2020, Leavitt, see what this thing is really all about, and then we can kind of continue to move forward.
But then you could have done that next year. Like, you could have said right after you lose to Florida by 30 points, hey, Barnett's fired and he's being replaced by Jim Leavitt. Like, I do think you're not concentrating enough on this season. I think this is a trying to save 2019.
Well,
I really do.
Because I don't think you can. I don't think you can save it with this. I don't think he can. I don't know what he can really do if you don't. Because at this point, why not just fire Barnett? Because if you're talking about money, big sums of money are a problem. Getting rid of Barnett now with, basically 2 years left on his deal, he'd get something like 80% of his, whatever, $1.9 million.
Yeah, it's probably $1.5 million he'd get, 1.4 or something like that.
If why wouldn't you just let him go now? Install Leavitt. I guess you can't do that. That's really too much of a jarring thing to. We've talked about how this doesn't happen all that often, where you fire a coordinator midseason and it turns out into a success. So this is kind of the incremental thing. Plus, yeah, maybe you actually, maybe they do keep Barnett on staff and he becomes the secondary coach. Maybe this thing gets a little bit better to where they're winning games 38-35 and they do win 5 games and they're like, all right, 2020, one more time, let's roll. We got everything we need. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm thinking, because I don't really know how much can change. Jim Leavitt's a great defensive coordinator. He was one of the top 10 highest paid coordinators, but I think Oregon last year was 55th in defense, and the year that he and Willie were together, they were 43rd. So it's not exactly slam dunk top 25 defense rolling into town. And again, I don't know what he can really do this year to salvage it. That's why I think this is, I don't know, man. Maybe we'll find out. I don't know. I feel like we're not willing to do the buyout route. This is the best course of action for Florida State University.
Well, I agree with you in the sense that they desperately don't want to do it. They desperately don't want to spend whatever they would end up spending when you throw in all the coaches' salaries, $22-23 million, and then have to go pay another coach. And have to fire somebody after 2 seasons. That might not make it the easiest thing in the world to go hire another coach when you you only give the previous guy 2 seasons.
They got egos. I can do it. That's what everybody's thinking.
But they don't want to do that. They don't want to spend $23 million.
Oh no,
but
no, they showed
dude,
us
it doesn't matter. They could have Bill Belichick as a quality control analyst. If they go 2-10, they're not bringing Willie Taggart back. You can't. You just can't. So I don't know, especially not for like Jim Leavitt waiting in the wings. Again, you're talking about like a 68 or 70-year-old man who's a good coach, but he's not like a Brent Venables. It's not like they're like, look, Brent Venables is coming over and
he's 62.
You know what I mean?
He's 62. He's a young
is that
62.
It?
Yeah. He'll be 63 in December. He's young.
So he was only 50 when they were number 2 in the country at South Florida. I thought he seemed old and crusty then. I guess 50 is old. It's just that I'm 44, so now 50 doesn't seem that old anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that's a needle mover like you think it is. That it would. I mean, I just think you would lose so much in excitement and season ticket sales and everything else if you're coming off a 2-10 season and you don't make a change, and you're just saying, okay, well now we're getting a new defensive coordinator. You mean the guy that was on staff for the last 10 games when nothing got better? That's going to be the difference now? Aren't we just delaying in the inevitable? I think that's the thought. That would be the counter thought to yours is, man, you can't afford not to. You're just going to lose way too much. People are going to stop giving money. They're going to stop caring. It's going to be empathetic. It's going to be sad. And why delay the inevitable if you're going to get rid of them anyway? So I think in that, but they could turn around a little bit. They could be better with him. It can't be worse, right? It certainly should help to have somebody like him on the staff. But I think, again, I just think it's more to do with this season as opposed to, but I mean, we're talking in circles. You have your opinion. I have mine. Yeah. It's fine. One of us, well, we both might be right. We both might be wrong. Who knows? Yeah. It's just odd. It's odd to hire somebody like that in week 3.
Yeah. Just, when we spoke to Willie at ACC Kickoff, we asked him about it, and, he hinted at Stanford Samuels being that guy, but Stanford Samuels apparently isn't even he's a volunteer assistant, which is different than the role they're bringing in Jim Leavitt to do. I do wonder, again, like, why didn't Jim Leavitt do this in July? I understand, like, his mom is ailing. He wanted to come to Florida to spend some time with her, but hey, I just want like a month and a half with my mom.
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think, though?
That's what I think. The money, I think everything's aligned to where it's like, all right, we're going to hire you full time, rain or shine. What happens here? And then that's my last stand. That's my Waterloo. I've shot my last bullet with this administration. That's what it feels like if, looking at this. That's the way I'm kind of processing.
You're thinking, though, if he becomes the defensive coordinator.
Which, yeah, I don't know why he would come here just to hang out for 14 weeks.
Exactly. He's not going to come here to just be a quality control assistant for
1 year. Yeah, it's going to be
so. But I think that's what's changed, right? If we want to just look at it, we don't have any inside knowledge about the Jim Leavitt situation, but Occam's razor, which I like to refer to a lot, folks, you're welcome. Big fan of physics. The simplest explanation is usually the correct one. Well, the simple explanation is in August, he could get no guarantees that he would be on the coaching staff and he would have control of the defense. Now, after 2 weeks, I'm just spitballing here that maybe he got some assurances that at some point in the next few weeks or a month, he will be running this defense. Otherwise, why would he do it? So that's what I think it's just, it might be after the game against Virginia. If they give up 40 or 50 points, that's a wrap for Barnett, and Jim Leavitt is your new defensive coordinator. And you're giving him one game and a few practices to kind of get adjusted to the roster, what they're trying to do, what he'll be trying to do once he takes over. That, to me, is the simplest explanation, because nothing has changed from in Jim Leavitt's life from August 15th to September 12th. Nothing. It's the same exact situation he was in. He was offered a job back then. He didn't want it. Now he does. Well, I wonder why. Then that's my thought, is he was given a pretty good assurances that he will be running this defense soon enough.
I still think they finish the string out with Barnett, just because who would coach the secondary? Because Leavitt's thing is like linebackers. He worked with, Raymond Woody was with him at Oregon, so they have some familiarity.
Yeah, but maybe you demote Barnett. He still gets the salary. I don't think Taggart has any issues with demoting him.
Yeah. Okay.
Or at least making them co-defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Barnett is an incredible co-defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
He's one of the best co-defensive coordinators we've ever seen.
As we talk about later on in this podcast. There is one thing I did want to read. The New York Times wrote this story a few years back just about the proliferation of these analysts and everywhere. Bigger is better, more is better, all that kind of stuff. But there's this little blurb here that I found a little bit interesting as we kind of wind this down and go into the rest of the show. From that article, some coaches with the means to assemble a phalanx, right? Phalanx?
Sure.
Screwed that all up. Anyhow, to assemble a whole bunch of experienced scouts have disdained that path. Jim Harbaugh of Michigan has boasted of consolidating jobs. Oklahoma coach Lincoln Riley posted last month. Why can't I read these words out loud?
I don't know.
Lincoln Riley said, the more people you bring in, the bigger chance there is of having somebody that's not all in, not as invested. And I think that can hurt a staff, hurt a team faster than anything. So that's an interesting sort of dichotomy or look at the way these things are going. So
Jim Leavitt's only 62?
62. He'll be 63 December 5th.
Okay. Right when Florida State's getting ready for the ACC championship game.
Boom.
Maybe they'll be playing on his birthday. I don't know what day that is. I think that's a couple days before, but I'm not quite sure. It's somewhere that week for sure. So, but I think Taggart has worked with him. So I think Taggart trusts that he'll come in and not be one of those guys.
Well, I'm not talking about him.
Not all in.
I'm talking about maybe Mark Snyder realizes he's not going to be here next year, or maybe Harlan Barnett a little bit hurt, But anywho, otherwise it's crazy to see the reaction on Twitter. Everybody's excited. I hope we didn't bring you down. Ride this wave of enthusiasm into the weekend. Hopefully an upset win over Virginia. By the way, Trevor Maddich said on SportsCenter that his team on Upset Alert, his ranked team on Upset Alert is Virginia. Florida State has put together 2 great first halves, and if they, quote, can keep their foot out of their own ear, they'll be a handful for 4 quarters. So it all changes. It all changes now. Jim Leavitt, golden-haired savior. Welcome to Tallahassee.
So but real quick, I do think that there's a chance that I don't know if I finished the thought. I don't think that Taggart would be above or think he couldn't just demote Harlan Barnett. I think, and then Harlan Barnett is your secondary coach, and then Leavitt is your defensive coordinator, or they split the job, they split the duties, whatever the case may be. I think there's a chance because they have an opening. So there's a chance that they do that for the rest of the year. Maybe. And this is just, this is the 1-week trial run before, and you're assuming you're going to give up a ton of points. And then on Sunday or Monday, you make an announcement. Okay, we've made a change to our staff. We move some pieces around. Here's what it is now. Isn't that what we're all expecting? Kind of. I think you said that you expect Barnett to stay defensive coordinator the whole season. I don't. I just don't. I don't think Leavitt would come here to be a quality control coach for 10 weeks. I think this was because he's going to be. Why wouldn't he have done that in August?
Well, because he's going to be defensive coordinator in 2020. I think they'll let Harlan finish out the string, and maybe they do sort of quasi without telling us. Like they don't have to make an announcement.
Sure, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, they might not make an announcement.
Yeah. Anyhow, we're going to probably be over 3 hours of the podcast now.
Holy moly, this is an all-timer. This is a marathon session. My Zaxby's is here.
At Birch Orthodontics, they know what a difference a beautiful and healthy smile can make in your life.
They take the time to get to know you and perform a thorough exam so that they can make an individualized treatment plan just for you or your child.
They use the latest technology in a warm and comfortable environment. So whether you are interested in traditional metal or clear braces or clear aligners, they can give you the smile you deserve. They know investing in your smile means investing in your future. And at Birch Orthodontics, they are honored to be a part of your smile journey.
Serving Tallahassee for 16 years and supporting the Knolls since forever. Check them out at birchorthodontics.com. BURCH orthodontics.com. Welcome back. Corey's going to enjoy this Zaxby's because he's got really good bite alignment, right? Corey, top rows, bottom chompers, they align properly. It'll allow him to consume his Zaxby's the very best way it can. But if he didn't, he would go probably see Dr. Heather Birch to get it fixed if he did need.
A little known fact about Corey Clark is that my top 6, I have a bridge, and my top 6 teeth on my top row are all fake.
Really? What happened?
I was born without, not the 2 big teeth, but the 2 teeth next to the 2 big teeth. I was born without permanent ones.
Okay.
And it's something that's actually weirdly genetic. Like I got it from my mom. She had the same thing.
Sharon.
So I had like that dream that some people have about their teeth falling out.
Sure.
Well, it's supposedly a dream. I've had it, but it's always because I used to have a bridge that was just those two teeth, and every 4 or 5 months it would pop out. And it was, and this was when I was in like college, and it was our dating Shanna, and it was really nerve wracking and anxious because there'd be times where my teeth would pop out, and it's not like you can just shove them back in. I mean, they have to go and get it done by a dentist, and so yeah, I had that dream all the time. But finally, the 2009 North Carolina game, remember that? Ponder leads the comeback?
Absolutely.
So that night in the press box in Chapel Hill, I'm chewing on a pen, and I pop that bridge out almost. Like it just cracks. And then it comes out. And you have to understand, when you have that done, you basically just have two little nubs that it's attached to. So it looks ridiculous. Like I looked like somebody from Deliverance. I mean, it looked completely ridiculous. I couldn't smile, couldn't talk, because if I did, people would be like, oh, what's going on here? So then that was 2009. My buddy, who's a dentist, gave me a new permanent bridge, and I've had that for 10 years. But yeah, all my top 6 teeth are fake, buddy.
Look at that. I did not know that.
Amazing. Yeah, now you do. Now everyone does.
So Florida State football, look at the adversity that Corey Clark has had to overcome in his life. Figure it out.
You should have read that. You should have read that story I wrote on that 2009 night in Chapel Hill. Even with my teeth falling out of my face, it's incredible. I don't let that stuff, get me down. Any type of adversity, I just leap over it. You can too, guys. Nobody believed I could do it with no teeth, but here I am.
Here we are. It's time to get on the ponies. It's the Renegade Express powered by First Commerce Financial. If you or someone you know is looking to buy or refinance a home, First Commerce Financial is a peer mortgage broker committed to providing transparent mortgage solutions to help you grow your overall net worth. They eliminate the junk fees associated with most mortgages, all while providing 5-star level service and keeping you updated throughout the process. Mention that you heard about them on War Chant, and they will waive the appraisal fee for qualified borrowers. To begin the process, or if you have any questions, please call 248-207-2404 or visit firstcommercefinancial.com. Licensed in Florida, Michigan, Arizona, California. First question, here we go. Knoll97. Do you gentlemen think any big changes will be driven by financial motivations, that is, lost revenue from tickets, boosters, salary buyouts, or from a deep desire to rebuild a once great program? Money's always an issue, but is it the biggest issue? Well, I would say probably a little from column A and a little from column B. I think when you talk about making big changes, and I think the implication here is firing your head football coach, I think your athletic director is financially motivated in terms of analyzing and crunching numbers and realizing that if this thing doesn't get better, the looking at the stands and realizing people are no longer in there and putting that all together, that's what gives you the anxiety of wanting to make a change. I think the deep desire to rebuild a program, that comes from your big money guys. That's the folks in the boosters that are not happy about the direction of the program. Some of this is sort of intimated and talked about on the War Chant report, which will be on warchant.com and YouTube later on Thursday. But yeah, I think it's a little from column A and a little from column B, Corey.
Yeah, I don't think I quite understood the question. I understood your answer, but what exactly is he asking?
Basically,
in layman's terms,
what is the biggest issue? What's if Willie ends up not being here very much longer? Is it going to be because the financial cost of him losing, or in this program losing, and not being able to sell season tickets and the interest starts waning? Or
yeah. I mean, isn't that always kind of the case though? Like, I mean, I guess we can say, well, record-wise, you deserve better than this, but it all comes back. It all comes back to the money and the money you're losing, and not just the money the university is losing, the money the city is losing. These last 2 years, 3 years, really. But not that I feel any sympathy for the hotels that charge $500 for $100 type rooms. It's that price gouging is obscene. But hotels and restaurants and everybody else in this city is losing money every time they play a noon game against a terrible opponent with a terrible team yourself. You're losing money for the city. It's just bad. It's just bad for the city, and it's bad for the university, and it can't it's not tenable. You can't have a bad football team in Tallahassee in 2019 and make money. You're going to be losing money, and that just can't happen. You'll have to figure out a way to get some excitement, to get some season tickets sold, and all that stuff. So that it's got to be turned around. It's all about, to me, it's all about money. And the question is, what becomes? Is it more expensive to pay Willie's buyout? We're saying if he's being fired and all those coaches' buyouts, can you afford to do that? And the other question is, can you afford not to do that? And that's the question that Thrasher and Coburn might have to face at the end of this year.
Conway T4811. It seems that before the season, most folks agreed that Willie should get 3 years to get FSU back on track. I didn't subscribe to that, but I don't know how accurate. Do you think most folks thought he needed 3 years?
Yeah, I think so.
All right,
we've got 2 years. 2 years is a long. 2 years is a really short time frame, man, to fire a coach.
We've got.
I mean, how many times has that happened in our lifetimes?
I don't know. I kind of wanted to help out Ira with this research project, but he never got back to me. I don't think he trusts my statistical analysis and research. But anyhow, we've got to be patient. Conway T4811 says the offense is looking much improved. The defense needs a skilled 3-4 technician to evaluate the roster and the film to make the appropriate recommendations for practice and game day. A loss to Virginia does not scare me, although if it's bad enough defensively, we may need Harlan Barnett to stop coordinating the defense and let someone else deliver on that. But I believe we're on the way to better days. Willie has not rebuilt any programs with haste. Still give him about a 50% chance to find success here. That's actually about the same percentage I gave him when he got the job. What percentages do you guys give Willie to work this out, and how does that compare to your thoughts when he was hired? Oh, and Aslan, I almost forgot. Can you please do some more Ed O impersonations? And if you do, you have to throw in the Twitter machine. Thanks.
Oh, is that what he says now?
No, I don't. Maybe I say Twitter machine, but maybe Ed O says that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. All right.
Whoa, Texas. You go. Go ahead, Corey.
Thanks, Coach. Yeah, I would say my percentage is a little lower than 50% right now, sadly. Just haven't seen enough in 14 games. And again, it's the fact that the things got worse last year, not better. And you look around the country, and some teams have. I used North Carolina, I think, as an example yesterday. He didn't take over a great situation, and they're 2-0. Now, maybe they finished 2-10, but at least there's some excitement around that program right now, and they've had a couple of big wins. Willie's played 14 games at Florida State, about to be 15, and unless he surprises all of us, he won't have one signature win, one signature moment. It's just a bunch of disappointment. And you start to wonder, okay, is it going to get turned around here? And trust me, when he was hired and everybody brought up his losing record, I would go to the moon and back defending it because of context. In the programs he was taken over for, like a Western Kentucky that was on a 19 or 20 game losing streak, and in 2 years, Willie's got him with a winning season. In 3 years, they're in a bowl game, and then South Florida was winless, and then 2 or 3 years later after Taggart, they had 10 wins. So I've defended that record, and maybe there was a lot of these types of growing pains at Western Kentucky and South Florida. I'm sure there were. The problem was for Willie is that those were at Western Kentucky and South Florida, where nobody frankly cares about your football teams. You don't have a fan base. You're not on the bottom line on ESPN when you say something about hydration when you're the South Florida head coach. When you're at Florida State and you do, it's on the bottom line and they're talking about it on PTI. That's the difference. Florida State is a different animal than where he's been before. And through 14 games, small sample size, but through 14 games, it doesn't look like this thing is getting much better other than making the hire on offense. The offense does look better, but it couldn't have looked any worse. Last year was an abject failure. The coaching staff he put together was an abject failure. So maybe he'll get it right the second time. Maybe Barnett leaves and he hires a great defensive coordinator, and then this thing takes off. But, we'll see if that will, again, satiate the fans or the money people, which is the most important, to just fire the defensive coordinator. They might want more than that.
Yeah, I was probably at 50 in December of 2017. Probably went down to 30 after witnessing what happened last season, and probably down into the high teens right now in terms of percentage of this is going to work.
High teens, huh? You're like 18, 19?
Yeah, something
Okay.
like that. Just because, just being around the team, just watching the practices, being at every single press conference, listening to the way they talk about the program, listening to him in different settings, the way he talks about the team, the way he sort of looks at football, the way the things he values in terms of turning things around. That's just us. I don't have the most optimism. Drill Sergeant Porter, great show as always. Probably the best thing about FSU football right now. So when did our players get to this mindset that it's okay to be a constant punchline? I'm talking when Nick Chubb spit on – no, not – is it Bradley Chubb? Sorry. Bradley Chubb, right? Bradley Chubb played for NC State.
Yeah.
Spits on the logo. Miami players stomping, pretending to dig up our logo. Louisiana Monroe players mocking the chop on Saturday. Not to mention TV commentators talking about our players are more interested in dancing in the fourth quarter instead of being focused on the game. I can't confirm that. And did they really say that? If only I could say to my 2018 self, Drill Sergeant Porter, you think this is the worst FSU team you've ever seen? Just wait until 2019. Oh, well, just like the last 4 Septembers, there's always next year. You guys are awesome, though. And as always, go Noles. Yeah, I don't know when the players got this. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, last year, the Gators tried to plant the flag. Willie had to step up and be like, no, don't do that. But, yeah, they're being coached up to be tough. They're trying. Just not. It's not resonating. Rather.
That's right. I forgot about the Florida thing. They were going to do what? Remind me of that scene.
Well, they were going to plant the flag. Like everybody was at midfield shaking hands after the game. Post, ESPN's interviewing Dan Mullen or whatever. Everybody's milling about, and one of the players has a large Florida flag and tries to pull like a Baker Mayfield in Columbus, and was trying to plant the Gator flag on the Seminole head. But then Willie saw it. Willie diagnosed it very well and triggered. Went downhill and kind of was like, no, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. So.
Yeah, you see that, and it kind of goes back to 16 too, like where the Louisville offensive line is talking trash to the whole Florida State defense, all of them. And it's just the offensive line because the skill players are on the field. And it's before it was a complete blowout. And Odell Higgins had to be the one that he was out there talking to the defense, and he had to be the one that kind of got in the offensive lineman's face. And basically told him to shut up, and however Odell speak, because the defense was just kind of standing there, taking it, and it's been that way. Chubb did it in 17. You had Florida try to do that in 18. Yeah, they're just, I get it. I mean, you don't want guys that are getting personal fouls every week and throwing people into the stands, but you want some sort of toughness and some sort of pride. And there doesn't seem to be a ton of it around this program right now.
We want players that want to be here. Long answer short, though. It's all Jimbo's fault. Look at you now, Jimbo. You're in College Station. I got a quarterback in Baton Rouge with Joe Burrow. You thought you were going to come get my job. You're never going to get my job, Jimbo. I'm here forever. Next question comes from a backwoods Hicknell. And that's not a pejorative. That's the name of the person, Backwoods Hicknell. What's up, fellas? Wake up. Basically, what he's trying to tell us, Corey, is that this team is pampered. They need to be stripped of everything that's FSU. They should wear plain uniforms at practice. They should only wear a white helmet until they show signs of looking like an FSU team. These guys are pampered. It shows on the field. Toughen them up. Sounds extreme, but I'm just spitballing. Is it a good plan?
I mean, I don't know what you do. I don't know if there's any way to, if any of that stuff would even matter. I don't know that any of that stuff would even matter and get through. I just don't know.
The die is cast, I think, when it comes to the way that, at least for 2019, the way that Willie is going to manage personalities. So to do something that drastic, which I don't know how serious he is about that question, but yeah, I don't. He can't do a complete heel turn. I don't think Willie can pull a 180 and just go drill sergeant out there. That would probably be whatever tenuous nature of buy-in is existing in that locker room. If you do that, I think it's probably all promptly lost. Benzos on Saturday. Corey, Aslan, wake up. Promptly go back to sleep until 2020. This is a long one. It's 5 graphs. We did get your column, by the way, about the upcoming Virginia game. Apparently he has a fiction background. I only read the first graph because I was sifting through emails. I'll get back to it. I'll let you know what I think about it, Benzos. His question, though, is basically Composite-wise, in terms of the talent on this roster, apparently Florida State is 6th in the nation in terms of what these kids were ranked coming out of high school, according to all the major recruiting services. Clemson's number 9. So by this sort of wisdom, conservatively, they should be in the top third in the S&P of offense and defense. So the question is, when this many talented kids play this poorly, do you believe the issue is systemic, organizational, or just a bunch of guys individually underachieving? That's a really good question.
It is, and the easy answer is all of it. It's not one of those; it's all of those. Part of that too is it's easy to kind of switch to an individualistic mode, and like I'm just going to go do what I got to do. I might not even do my job. I just want to go make a play. So because if you stop worrying about the team, and you saw it in 2005 a little bit, and I wasn't here covering the team, but I watched it pretty closely. That defense at the end of the year wasn't good at all because all their goals had been kind of thrown out the window. They were on a 2 or 3, 4 game losing streak, whatever it was. And by the end of the year, they just weren't any good at all, even with a lot of talent on that side of the ball, because everybody was just, the ball, they weren't holding their gaps. They weren't, staying in their lanes or where they were supposed to be. The ball's over there, or I think the ball's over there. I'm just going to take off like a maniac towards it because I want to go make a play, because I want to get my tackles up. I want to have some highlight film, whatever it is. They weren't necessarily doing their jobs. They were trying to do everything individualistically, if that makes sense. And so I do think that becomes a problem here too, is that you're going to have guys that are just going to be running completely in the wrong direction because they think that's where the play will be made instead of doing what their coach should do. But, I don't think they're as talented as those rankings make out. I don't think those recruiting rankings are the end-all, be-all. I don't think we can just use those as a gauge. At the same time, so many of these guys were being recruited by all the big-time schools. And you can't – what kind of bad luck would it be to have missed on all of them? I mean, that's an impossible run of bad luck. There are some real talented football players here on that side of the ball. Really talented. And they just haven't been coached up, don't believe in themselves, or have given up on what they're trying to do here. I mean, those are the only 3 explanations.
If this staff was like laid to waste, I'm just trying to think, Harlan could probably end up back in East Lansing, working for Michigan State. I don't know.
It depends on how that conversation went down.
Yeah.
There might have been some feelings hurt.
I don't know who else is going to be beating down Mark Snyder's door, although I think he probably has a pretty good network of coaches that he knows. I don't know if Raymond Woody would be that highly sought after. Like, his network seems to be Willie. Like, he's, has clinged on to Willie and done well for himself. Offensively, Kendall and Randy will find somebody. I mean, they're mercenaries. They'll get hired somewhere. Telly is a valuable recruiter. Ron Dugans would just move on to the next job kind of thing. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a cop-out, but it's a little bit of both. I don't think one simple thing, because they're still competitive. It's not like they're 0-2 and have gotten blasted 45-7 the last 2 weeks. So it's not like it's horrible coaching and horrible players. It's just a little bit of inadequacy on both sides of those things. FSU, JT, Aslan, Corey, I've been listening to Wake Up War Chant since its inception, but never really felt the need to ask any questions until, well, here we are. First, let me thank you for both doing the show, as you two make a great team and really are the best way to keep up with everything FSU related, especially being on the West Coast. Hope I get to meet both of you soon. This question comes from Hollywood, California.
Well, we might be in Pasadena for the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. We'll get together.
That's still on the table until it's not.
All right.
So I'm holding out hope for the Rose Bowl.
I'm probably going to put this all on you, Corey, because we need to hustle through, and there's a lot of questions here, and you do a better job of answering than I do. Hard questions from FSU JT. Where do we go from here? Seriously, I've been watching FSU football since I was 2, pre-birth if you count my mother going to games while I was in the womb. I have never seen a team like this, one that does not care, that celebrates an overtime win versus a team that we should have beat by 30. This is depressing. I miss the days of true Seminole football. Is this Taggart? Is this the entire staff, the players? What can change immediately to avoid this season being another disaster? Personally, I'm with parting ways with Willie, but it's only because I can't stand seeing our program in such shambles while other first-year coaches are soaring. He cites Maryland as one. Sorry for the long post. I hope this thing turns around soon. My heart can't take this pain much longer. Football is not even fun anymore. Wake up and go Noles. Jake.
That last part is the part that's really, I think, becoming a concern for Florida State fans. I mean, of course, winning is fun, but none of this is fun. This team isn't likable. They do way too much celebrating and dancing for having done nothing in their college careers. I know that's something that Willie fosters and wants them to, dance and have fun and play like that. But it just the swag surfing and all that before and during kickoffs, I don't think it really resonates all that well, Aslan, with the fan base. But overall, it's just not fun to have no hope on defense, to watch your defense completely get obliterated and to have no pride in what you're seeing. And this is a prideful fan base. For 40 years, they've won more games than anyone. And now you're having to, struggle for those 1-point wins in overtime. So I get it. I don't know. There's not a quick fix. And I'm not saying Willie can't do it. He's done it at 2 other places he's been at. This is a different animal, and it's a lot more money involved. So it's a lot more national prestige involved in this program. So it's just a matter of what the people that matter think at the end of the season. But I don't think Willie's it ain't getting turned around this year. Yeah. So we've seen enough. I know 2 games is a small sample size, but we've seen enough from this defense to know that it's not turning around.
Yeah. Where do we go from here, Jake? Just I don't know. Surround yourself with good friends and cold drinks, and just hope for an upset here and there. It's going to be rocky. It's going to be rocky, but just got to hope that the folks in power.
I wonder what games he went to when his mom was pregnant with him.
Yeah, let us know, Jake.
Let us know, Jake. I know you don't write in a lot, but let us know what games, what years those were that your mom was pregnant with you in the stands.
C691027, our friend from Moscow, also from Ashburn, he helped identify Tamorian and Pokey and bring him to Jimbo's attention.
Sure.
So we appreciate him.
How about Pokey, by the way?
Yeah, look at him.
They use that kid, yeah.
He believes that the 3-4 and Barnett need to go immediately, like before Saturday, but this is the question I'll ask you, Corey. He says, no patience left with 85% of fan base and boosters. No improvement gets you nada in time. So like 85, that sounds a little high with the patience. I think there's more than 15% of people out there that have patience. Would you take over or under 85?
I think that's a solid number. Again,
really?
And I keep projecting towards the end of the year at a 3-9 or 4-8 season.
Okay.
Right now, it might be 99%. The people are like, no, I'm done.
No.
I mean, look, man, that was an embarrassment. That was the low point of the program, in my personal opinion.
Really, even worse than Wake Forest in 2006? Come on, you were there.
The 2006 season, they had lost some games, they had won some games. There was still hope even going into that game because they had liked what they'd seen out of Xavier Lee. Like, oh, man, he's going to win a Heisman here. He's awesome. So there was still some hope around that program. And the 30-0 loss, you weren't getting rid of Bowden, but I think people were like, you know what? That's what we needed to get rid of Jeff. That's what we need to get rid of Jeff Bowden. So all of a sudden there's renewed hope again. Like, oh, God. And he quit the next day or 2 days later.
Yeah.
So, there was renewed hope around the program. And who are we going to get? We can get the best OC in the country. And they got a really, really good one. So, there's no hope right now around this thing. We're only in game 2. That was like game 10. So, I don't know, man. I just the fact that it's the second year of a coaching tenure, things were supposed to get so much better in the offseason. You blow the lead in the first game the way you blew it. And then that second game, you just completely embarrass yourself over the last 3 quarters. I think, and people, those fans in there having to scream and yell, trying to be loud, trying to help the defense get a stop, and then also really celebrating after that loss, high-fiving and hugging. It was just a low point.
Yeah, not so much in celebration, but in terms of just avoiding humiliation.
Yeah,
like a different kind of thing.
But right? you didn't avoid it.
Yeah. Also, he asks, will the defense hold Virginia under 600 yards of total offense and 42 points? I'll take under 600 yards of offense, 42 points. I'll take under that too, like 41.
You think 41? Yeah. I think under on both. I think Virginia kind of a little time of possession. They like to milk the clock a little bit.
Yeah.
So 600 yards might be tough for them. But 40 points is like right where I'm seeing them end up. Yeah. But hey, maybe your red zone defense is good like it was against Boise, and you make them kick 5 field goals.
Actually, Florida State has the best red zone offense in the nation. They're tied for number 1. So there's something to hang your hat on, everybody.
And that includes getting the ball first down at the 1.
Yeah.
And having to kick a 45-yard field goal.
Get Down Black. Hey, what's up, man? Welcome back, buddy. What's up, guys? Haven't chimed in a while. Still listen every day. Good to know. Thank you. Question. Do you think we have been bamboozled with the Barnett hire? I love the word bamboozled. What if the other co-defensive coordinator was the whole mastermind behind the Michigan State defense? Also, I think the 3-4 has been the plan since last year. If you look at the defensive end recruits from 2018, we signed a lot of strong side defensive ends. They mostly weigh around 270 pounds, and we're not speed rushers. Just my take. Thanks, guys. As always, you rock 100.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Get Down.
Yeah.
Get down, get down. Get
right.
down, get down. Who sings that?
Is that Casey and the Sunshine Band?
It might be.
I don't know.
It might be. Anyway, that's certainly been a popular question in the last 2 weeks is, okay, who was the real mastermind behind that Michigan State defense? Because that Michigan State defense was good. They got in the playoffs almost solely on their defense. When Harlan Barnett was a co-defensive coordinator. And he's not just there doing nothing, folks. That's not how that works. Mike D'Antonio is a really good coach. He would not have somebody on his staff and give him that title if he didn't do anything. So I don't think he was just, dressing in the building for the guy that was actually really calling the plays. I think they really did divide responsibilities, and he had a lot to do with how Michigan State played that season and those seasons when they were really good defensively. I don't know what's gotten lost in translation. I don't know, but it's been a disaster. Maybe the other guy was incredible. Yeah. Who was the other guy? Can we look that up?
Well,
I assume he's just their defensive coordinator.
Wasn't it Mark D'Antonio? I mean, isn't
no,
head coach?
He was the head coach. He had 2 defensive coordinators.
All right. Well, also, while I'm looking that up, apparently a man by the name of Joe Simon had a song called Get Down, Get on the Floor. Maybe that was the song that we both are thinking of. I'm thinking it was like, Get Down.
No, I was thinking of, isn't that Jungle Boogie?
Okay,
Jungle
maybe.
Boogie. I think that's the Get Down I was singing. I'll look that up.
I got it. Well, 2015 was the year they made the playoff. And it was Harlan Barnett's 9th overall season, first as defensive coordinator, and he was co-defensive coordinator with Mike Tressel, who also was in his 9th season overall and first as defensive coordinator. I imagine he's related to Jim Tressel.
You should click on his bio and find that out. Jungle Boogie was by, it is Jungle Boogie that I was singing, and that's by Kool and the Gang, which I didn't know that. I didn't know Kool and the Gang sang Jungle Boogie.
Well, they also had Get Down on it as well, Kool and the Gang. So, yeah.
Wow, they were all about getting down, weren't they?
I mean,
holy moly, guys.
Baby making music. So, yeah, do you want me to go back and look like a year before that, a year after 2015?
No, I don't care. But he was a co-defensive coordinator with someone. Yeah. I was just wondering who.
Yeah. NYC Noel, wake up, fellas. We're going to also pick up the tempo here. We're going to go in Kendall Browse mode. It's like 35 minutes into the show. Oh, my God, 45 minutes into the show, and we're not even anywhere close to this.
Come on, man. I got to leave in 20 minutes. Let's roll through this.
Big game looming against Virginia. I want to believe the team will pull it together. The offense put up a lot of points consistently, march down the field on long drives and quick strikes. Defense will play aggressively with strong coverage and big hits. My concern is something unexpected and extraordinary will happen and rattle the team. Something like Virginia chooses to receive rather than defer to the second half will be too much for this team's delicate psyche, and we lose by 40. So my question is, give me 3 reasons why these Noles cannot handle adversity ever.
I don't know if there's 3 reasons. It's just that's the reality. They can't. I don't know why. And they've never won at the college level, really, any of them. They've never had any big wins, any of them. They've had some close losses to rivals, but
And I'll play pop psychologist. He said it to Phil Steele. He said it to us. He said it to Andrew Adelson. Like when Willie got here, he talked about that he saw a lot of kids that were hurt, about the way everything ended with Jimbo. So I think, with Willie's sort of intuition, these guys, he can relate. I played ball. I've been in your shoes before. A coach leaves you. That sucks. I need to build loyalty and engender myself to us. We're together. So I think like the whole, I'm going to love you guys up and then you're going to play hard for me sort of thing has obviously not worked out the way he thought it was going to work out. So instead of, being chewed out and told they need to be tougher, they need to find ways to no longer, blame other things around them, despite #blame no one. It's just a bad combination. So in terms of like Jimbo's fault, maybe him leaving and hurting feelings the way he did was probably, although you would think that'd be like an easy thing to rally around, right? Like that guy's a jerk. He's a dick. I'm the man. I love you guys. Play hard for me. Just hasn't worked out that way. Maxwell Gibbs, there he is. He's alive. Guys, it's time to be real. Tell the truth. Teams are what their coaches are. This team is weak both mentally and physically because Taggart is also the same. That's strong, Maxwell. Come on, man.
And I don't know that he's weak physically.
Yeah, he could probably take.
It looks like he's put together.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't challenge him to a fight.
What are your thoughts regarding a potential youth movement on defense? I mean, at this point, come on.
Nothing to lose. And I do think it's coming to a certain extent. They can't go just straight up freshman all 11. Of course, that would take Marvin Wilson out of the game. But I think it's coming. I think they're going to. It at least shows your fans that you're trying different stuff.
Primetime 92. Does Corey end every podcast by saying this is too easy? Pretty much.
You have to bleep that out.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, or to some sort of, some cousin or to that term or that.
Yeah, I'll say
sentiment.
something like, "Crushed it. What else is new?
Yeah.
Call me tomorrow. Click."
Right.
That's how. And even if I'm in the Midtown studios, that's usually what I'll just kind of throw the headset down and said, "Yep, crush that one too. What else is new? Get out the door."
J.I.I. Knowles, he's from Miami. His name is Jeremy. He helped contribute to me blacking out in Chicago the day before the Notre Dame game. He's back. Ira mentioned something that seemed to be interesting to him about Willie being subdued at the press conference this past Monday. It had him thinking, what is the most awkward Monday after game press conference you two have ever attended? Thanks for what you do. Everybody, be sure to rate Wake Up War Chant with a 5-star rating.
It had to have been one of Jimbo's in the last year. Like, he started getting to this point where he'd ask us questions. Like, what would you do, Corey? And I hadn't been listening. Like, he was talking about something, but I just tuned out. I wasn't listening at that point. And he'd go, what would you do, Corey? You got any answers? And I didn't even know what the question was. So I'd be like, no, I don't. I didn't even know what we were talking about. So he started doing that at the end of the year, and it got really awkward. DeAndre not being there, DeAndre being in Orlando Snapchatting or whatever he was doing during the football game. I can't put a specific Monday morning, which after which game, but basically all the ones in October and November for Jimbo's last year.
Me being in television afforded me the luxury of not really, when I was in Mississippi, I was in Jackson, which was 3 hours from Oxford, 2.5 from Starkville. So I never really went to those Monday press conferences. I would go to the games on Saturday and cover them, but then I'd always be back in Jackson. So I never really had to face the music with the coach on a Monday. The most awkward sort of post-game was probably Mississippi State in 2012, although none of you care, but I'm going to say it anyways. That was the year they somehow had worked themselves like into number 13 in the BCS. Like, they were 7-0. They were going into Tuscaloosa. Somebody put an MSU jersey on the Bear Bryant statue. They went and played at Alabama and got absolutely smoked. Then the next week they played Johnny Manziel, and this was about a week or so after everybody had started really taking notice of him, and they got absolutely throttled. And Mullen was a complete jerk, and the only person they gave us to talk to after the game was the punter. I mean, literally,
nice.
It was the punter. So it was like, oh, gee, thanks, Dan. Notepad Rick, a lot here to unpack. Basically, he doesn't like to see the egregious personal foul penalties. Why doesn't Willie mandate that players apologize post-game about these things? We don't know. I'm sure he does. He has his ways, I'm sure.
Well, the problem there, though, is the optics of Dontavius making that most ridiculous personal foul, losing his mind a little bit on the sidelines, but then going back in the game. Like, I think if he just didn't go back in the game for the rest of the time, that would have been the punishment that everybody would have been cool with. But you wonder, okay, how are these messages getting across if the kid that makes an unbelievable mistake like that for no reason? It's not like you see personal fouls sometimes where they catch the second guy. Yeah. Well, I get that, man. If somebody kicks you in the behind and you turn around and want to kick him back and the ref only sees you, I get that. This kid had just gotten tackled by your teammates. And you just jump on the pile, and for whatever reason, you're not even ripping at the ball, you're ripping at his helmet. Why? And so when you do something that dumb in that moment, you're not on the field again. And if we lose because of it, explain it to your teammates. But letting him go back in the game because you don't trust anybody else or you're scared to lose, when you've already lost, let's be honest. I know a win's better than a loss, but it was the worst win in school history instead of the worst loss in school history. But the difference is marginal. I think that doesn't ingratiate yourself with the fan base that wants to see you really rule with an iron fist. Now, Levante Taylor didn't play. Logan Tyler suspended. So it's not like he lets these guys skirt when he's unhappy with them. But in that moment, I don't think number 5 should ever been back on the field.
And also, do we even know that they were aware of actually what he did? I mean, they know he got a personal foul penalty, but it could have been a numerous amount of things. So I'll give them some benefit of the doubt. Note, Patrick basically ends with saying, if the sanctions he offered up to these selfish players were so serious, they would never commit or consider these acts. So it makes him think that these guys are not disciplined. Garnett, 76.
How many questions we got left?
We're not even close.
Well, I mean, what I was going to say is we got to talk about something tomorrow. You just want to break it up and do it again, do some more tomorrow?
We got to do the over-under.
I mean, that won't take. I'll take 12 minutes. I'm just saying, I hate that we're going to ignore people because I got to go pick up my kid.
We're not ignoring them. We just have to be more, efficient in our answers or whatever here, man.
But I don't think that's, you know what, Aslan? You know, when I was talking about how I crush it every day, I feel like people like the way we talk. And they don't want us to just do a lightning round. That's no fun. You know, they don't want a 6-word answer from Corey Clark. I mean, they're paying good money to hear one of his typical 180-word answers with a lot of agains in it, where he says again 3 times. And by the way, in any way, you know, all those verbal crutches that he uses every day. They want to hear that stuff. They don't want to hear a 9-word answer. That's all I'm saying. You're the showrunner. We do what you want. That's all I'm saying.
How much time do you have? You got 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes?
I got about 5 minutes.
All right,
How long have we been doing the show?
Freaking long, brother. I mean, we're at 52 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. We can break it up a little bit. At least like maybe take 3 or 4 of the best ones that we didn't get to and save them for tomorrow.
All right. Garnett, 76. Jimmy Connors was interviewed before the U.S. Open final, which was a 5-hour grudge match with Nadal and Medvedev. And said before the match that Nadal plays like he's broke. I wish our team would match this because they play like Thurston Howell III. Whatever happened to making our opponents' fillings rattle that Willie talked about in one of his first press conferences? See, we're done. We don't have to answer that. That's just basically him asking us a rhetorical question. Jock_Jams. Nothing completes my morning commute like a free shuttle to work, free food, and free entertainment in the form of Corey's infinite football wisdom and Aslan's optimism. My question, who got it right? The great Sam Howell and Walt Bell or everybody else associated with the football program? It's always been a tough one. That's always been a tough one.
You know, we were talking about this in the press box when he led the comeback against Miami, or maybe South Carolina. One of the fourth quarter comebacks Sam Howell had was, would Florida State be in a better spot right now with Walt Bell and Sam Howell here offensively?
No.
Or Kendall Briles and James Blackman?
Yeah.
Because I am just not convinced they could have had Aaron Rodgers decide he wanted to come to Florida State and play a season. And I don't know that it would have mattered with what they were doing on offense last year. Because I don't think DeAndre Francois was the answer, but I also don't think he was the biggest problem. And nothing got translated correctly on it. As bad as the defense is now, that's how bad the offense was last year. So having Walt Bell here, and then having Sam Howell, who may or may not have won the job, I don't think your offense looks nearly as good as it does right now.
Yeah. Well, this is my thing real quick on it. These guys are all mercenaries, and I know a lot of people got upset about the whole way it ended up shaking out, but I just think that like if you're Walt Bell and you've been recruiting this kid for 6 months, maybe even before he got to Florida State, like there is a relationship with you and him and his father and his family, and you're seeing this program up close. Like, why are you a jerk for telling this family, hey, man, I'm leaving, I'm going to Amherst because I just don't think, you know, what, he's not allowed. It's like when you have a reference on a job application, I guess they can only be like, yes, he worked for me for 2 years. They can't say, yeah, you know, we let him go because he was a jerk. That to me, like you're eliminating a whole aspect of humanity and just being a person that you think that Walt Bell's not going to tell that family, hey, man, we went 5-7 because of this, and this. So ball's in your court. That doesn't bother me, man. It really doesn't. But I'm in the minority on everything. He does say he loves the podcast. It drove him to resubscribe. We should get our own promo code so Gene knows how many subscribers are from the podcast.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And here's the last one that I'll read. It comes from P. Colanola 07. Wake up. I don't really have a question. I am just writing in hopes that you two can do me a solid and give a shout out to my 7-year-old son, Jackson Forte. He asks me every morning before we leave to take him to school if we are going to listen to Wake Up War Chant in the truck. He loves you two and the show. A shout out to him would absolutely make his week and very possibly earn me some brownie points with the wifey. Oh, and by the way, Zaxby's Kickin' Chicken Sandwich is where it's at. P. Colano, what's up, Jackson? Listen to your dad, whatever he says, but do stay on his case and make sure that he's always tuned into Wake Up War Chant on the way to school.
It sounds like, and I feel like I have a pretty cool son.
Yeah,
but he wouldn't have listened to this show when he was 7. So it sounds like old Jackson Forte might be the coolest, smartest 7-year-old that's ever walked the earth.
Okay.
I mean, we're pretty adult. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're pretty sophisticated. So for a 7-year-old to really like what he's hearing for Wake Up War Chant, there's something in there. There's something fired in that brain that lets me know that old Jackson Forte can be anything he wants. He can be president. He can be an astronaut. He can be a firefighter. He can be a football player. Whatever old Jackson Forte wants to do, that's what Jackson Forte is going to do.
Yeah.
You think they call him Jax? If you had a kid named Jackson, would you shorten it to Jax?
I don't know. Jackson's strong.
Jackson's a great name. I feel like I should have named Brady Jackson. Jackson Clark would sound pretty cool.
Oh, man. Yeah, coming for you. All right, folks, we're done. We've hit the time limit on this or whatever. I'll rummage through these. We'll get to most of the rest of them on Friday, as well as the over-under. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening to Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. Go and have a great Thursday.
Unlike fanny packs, bowl cuts, and troll dolls, the sensation is back, only at Zaxby's. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich features hand-breaded chicken, Asian slaw, wonton strips, and citrus vinaigrette, and both are served with an egg roll. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich meal, for a limited time, only at Zaxby's. And skip the line when you order ahead on the Zaxby's app or on Zaxby's.com.